Hello everyone. Today I will tell you a story. The story is titled, Tama and the Times I Whispered His Name. Please like and subscribe to my channel if you appreciate me. You can skip this if you don't and oppose. Like this video. Thank you very much. The story begins as follows. Tama had a special talent that no one else in the house seemed to notice. He could hear his name even when it was spoken as softly as a thought. I discovered this talent on ordinary mornings. The kind of mornings that felt slow and familiar, where the air smelled faintly of coffee and sunlight slipped through the curtains in thin, golden lines. Tama was not a big dog. He was not small either. He was simply Tama-sized, which meant just large enough to take up half the couch and just small enough to curl into the space beside my legs when I sat on the floor. His fur was warm and slightly rough under my fingers, and his ears always seemed to know when I was thinking about him. On that particular morning, Tama was lying near the door, pretending to be asleep. His eyes were closed, his breathing slow and even, but his tail betrayed him. It moved slightly, tapping the floor whenever I looked his way. I didn't call him loudly. I didn't clap or whistle. I simply whispered, Tama. The sound barely left my lips. Yet his ears twitched. One eye opened, just a little, as if he was checking whether this was real or something he had imagined. Then his tail wagged, softly, carefully, like he didn't want to wake the whole world. I smiled. Sometimes I wondered why I whispered his name instead of calling it out. Maybe it was because Tama always responded better to gentleness. Loud voices made him freeze for a second, as if he needed time to understand the world again. But a soft voice? A whisper? That was his language. He stood up slowly, stretched his front legs, then walked over to me without making a sound. He sat down at my feet, looking up, eyes full of calm curiosity. What are you doing? His eyes seemed to ask. Nothing, I replied, even though he couldn't understand the words. Just saying hi. And that was enough for him. Tama leaned against my leg and sighed, the kind of sigh that felt like a small confession. I'm happy you noticed me. Afternoons were Tama's favorite time of day. The house was quieter then. The sunlight was warmer. Even time itself seemed to move more slowly, as if it knew Tama preferred not to rush. In the afternoons, Tama followed me everywhere, but not closely. He liked to keep a polite distance, always nearby, always aware. If I moved from the living room to the kitchen, he followed after a short delay, like he was pretending it was his own idea. Sometimes I whispered his name just to see what would happen. Tama. He would stop whatever he was doing, whether sniffing the floor, watching dust float in the light, or staring seriously at nothing at all. His head would tilt slightly, ears lifting like two curious questions. Then he would walk toward me, calm and steady, tail wagging low and slow. I realized something during those afternoons. Tama didn't come to me because he expected something. He didn't think I had food. He didn't assume I wanted him to perform a trick. He came because his name, spoken softly, meant connection. One afternoon, I sat on the floor with my back against the couch, feeling tired for no clear reason. Tama was across the room, lying in his favorite patch of sunlight. I didn't want to interrupt him, but I also didn't want to be alone. So I whispered again, almost apologetically. Tama. He opened his eyes. He looked at me for a long moment, as if deciding whether this was important enough to leave the sun. Then he stood up and walked over, placing his head gently on my knee. He didn't lick me. He didn't jump. He didn't make a sound. He just stayed. And somehow, that simple presence felt like a conversation deeper than words. Later that day, when the sky turned orange and the house filled with soft shadows, Tama lay beside me while I scrolled on my phone. I whispered his name again, out of habit. This time, he didn't move, but his tail wagged. I laughed quietly. Even when he chose not to come, he wanted me to know he heard me. At night, the world changed. Sounds became softer. Lights became warmer. Tama became more thoughtful, more gentle, as if night was the time he truly belonged to himself. Before sleeping, I often sat on the bed, tired from the day but unwilling to let it in just yet. Tama usually lay near the door, guarding nothing and everything at once. Sometimes I whispered his name just to feel the comfort of routine. Tama. He would lift his head, blink slowly, and look at me with eyes that seemed older than his age. Then he would walk over, circle once, and lie down near my feet. On one quiet night, as rain tapped gently against the window, I whispered his name again. But this time, something felt different. Tama. He didn't move right away. Instead, He looked at me carefully, as if he was trying to understand not just the sound, but the feeling behind it. Then he came closer than usual and rested his head against my ankle. In that moment, I realized something important. Tama didn't just respond to his name. He responded to attention, to kindness, to being seen. I thought about how often I rushed through my days, calling people loudly, expecting quick responses, forgetting that sometimes the softest calls carry the deepest meaning. Tama taught me that love doesn't need volume. It needs presence. That night, before turning off the light, I whispered his name one last time. Tama. His tail wagged once. And that was enough. Tama and the times I whispered his name may seem like a small story, but it carries a lesson that fits perfectly into modern life. In a world full of noise, speed, and constant demands, we often forget the power of gentleness. We speak loudly, rush conversations, and expect immediate results. Tama reminds us that true connection does not come from volume, but from intention. Animals, especially dogs, live in the present. They listen not only to our voices, but to our emotions. When I whispered Tama's name, I wasn't asking for obedience or attention. I was offering trust. And in return, he offered presence. This mutual understanding is the foundation of a healthy relationship between humans and animals. In daily life, we can apply this lesson by slowing down, speaking with kindness, and truly noticing those around us, both human and animal. A gentle word, a calm tone, or a moment of quiet attention can strengthen bonds more than grand gestures ever could. Tama teaches us that love is not loud. Love is patient, soft, and consistent. By treating animals with respect and empathy, we also learn how to become kinder humans. And in that shared kindness, both lives grow richer together.